Today we are mythbusting Atlassian careers, so shining a spotlight on the wonderful world of working with the Atlassian ecosystem. To do this, we're going to do a quick brief history of Atlassian to, I guess, set why think of a job in the Atlassian ecosystem. You may be surprised it's a bit of Atlassian just about everywhere in the world. Kind of reflected in our speaker panel today. We've got representatives from New Zealand, so the Oceania region. We've got UK, USA, India, and a good number of guests from all across our wonderful planet. We're going to be looking at different types of roles, just to give some clarification on what is a potential pathway for an Atlassian career, some common barriers or perceived barriers to entry, what to expect in a role, and lastly, if you are on the hunt for a career change, where to look. But first, we'll dive into some introductions. I'm Mike. I'm an Atlassian consultant at Datacom in Auckland, New Zealand. Atlassian wasn't my first career choice. Prior to this, I was actually a sailor in the New Zealand Navy, which was a lot of fun. Just to, sail the world, do some cool stuff, get shouted at by people, and that was cool. Then I met my wife, and we started to grow our family. And suddenly, the allure of being dragged away to sea at 8, 9, 12 months at a time wasn't quite so flashy. And I was also getting concerned that I was getting quite pigeonholed in my role. As I jumped on Seek and Indeed and all these other job websites, and not a lot of call for people to configure military radios in the civilian world. So I was thinking, where do I start? I was always interested in technology, always like learning stuff and talking to people. So I kind of accidentally stumbled into a role in software testing, which absolutely fell in love with. It was great. Loved the variety, loved getting out and translating people's problems into technological reports for developers to fix, and started using Jira. I thought this is quite a cool tool. This is quite fun, Kanban boards and all this new stuff. So that was great. Then so I left the Navy but stayed in the Navy Reserves. Being that I'd never worked in technology, it was kind of like a plan B. So I wasn't going to be homeless and jobless if testing didn't work out. So through the reserves, one of my friends there was working for another Atlassian partner and said, "Hey, have you used Jira?" Yeah, it's pretty cool. And okay, well, you might want to have a look at this job. And he basically sold Atlassian consultancy to me. I jumped in and I've never looked back. It's it's been really good. Okay, so jumping on next to Erica.
Thank you, Mike. My name is Erica. I love hearing how everybody sort of seems like stumbled into these roles with Atlassian. I don't think any of us went out and started and like, yes, this is like the career choice. And so it's so fun to hear these backgrounds. And I'm sure as we continue the discussion, we're going to learn more about how people have sort of stumbled into these roles. For me, my undergraduate degree is in creative writing. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to, work for National Geographic and travel the world. And that was what I thought I was going to set out to do. And I graduated from my undergrad in 2009, and we were still in the middle of a recession. And, there were no jobs for creative writers. Shocked. I know you guys are all, So I started a role as just a customer service agent at a fitness company, and sort of moved my way up. Did a lot of like people management stuff there as I moved my way up in that role, and then this crazy opportunity to become something called a Scrum Master. I was like, "What the heck is a Scrum Master? Sure, that sounds like an awesome title." And I got this opportunity to become a Scrum Master, which was really cool. And that really was what gave me my first sip of the Atlassian Kool-Aid. And I really haven't turned back since. And my current title is Process Engineer, which is really just a fancy title for Atlassian admin. I really am sort of this me at my company for sort of anything Atlassian related, and really came through to this role through much more of a people, project, process sort of pathway. I've never written a line of code in my life. And so I'm just really kind of excited to share just a little bit of that experience of like, hey, you can do this and not really come from that technical background. So hopefully I can kind of share some of that with all of you.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. And that's yeah, it's a really good point you raised there. That I didn't come from a technological background either, and when we came into my testing role, we had our first stand up, and I had no idea what was going on. Suddenly, everyone's off the desks, standing around in a circle. I'm thinking, oh no, they're gonna like sacrifice a goat or something. Like this is all getting a bit weird. But yeah, finding out the roles and responsibilities in Scrum was a good time too. And thanks for that. Next, Aradhana.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Aradhana. I'm based out of India. And yeah, unlike the earlier two, I was a hardcore developer. I was into various development technologies. And that's why I was very excited when this topic was brought about, because I, for one, did not ever want to do anything that would be an admin role or, learn a tool and be able to work on something like Jira. So I was working for this organization, which I'm still working with as a Java lead. And they decided that they wanted to shut down their bespoke development unit and only focus on the Atlassian bit of their business. And so I was left jobless. I had a choice to either leave the organization or then, if they offered me something, stick with that. And that's when I was offered something called as pre-sales, that is technical sales for the company. And I really, even today, I don't think I'm a very, very people's person. I'm a developer, so I like sitting behind the computer and just doing what I'm supposed to do. But then I took that opportunity up, and today I just look after everything related to Atlassian in the organization. And one of the challenges I face is actually convincing developers or people who come from a technical background that there is more meat to this than just learning a tool or, selling a tool. And I'm hoping that in the course of this, we can actually tell that to the people here. It's not just a pure admin role. There are various other roles that you can do once you get into this ecosystem. And yeah, that's what I hope I'd be able to tell you, or the people in this, whoever have joined here, would take away from here. And we'll have more technical people doing this kind of roles.
Perfect. Thanks, Aradhana. And on to Dan.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, I'm Dan Toombs. I am right now. My job is the Atlassian architect for a company called Inmarsat. So Inmarsat is a global satellite communications company. So we get to have fun launching and maintaining satellites in space. So on the day job, it's definitely interesting. But in terms of how I kind of got into the Atlassian ecosystem, that was about 8 years ago now, which is a bit weird to think about. When I first when I first started looking for like my first kind of real career, I joined a platinum solution partner on an apprenticeship. So still at college, still trying to learn stuff, but obviously I wasn't a university type student. I still believe I'm not, and I'm glad that I didn't go to uni. I would have definitely gone for the wrong reasons, while I'm sure it would have been fun. But yeah, I decided to join this company. I started on their support desk, learning all the types of questions that every customer was facing, and it taught me a lot. And it actually, I showed me that I wanted to move away from being from a support team, answering those questions, to actually being with the customers face to face. So I moved into consultancy, and I did that for 2-3 years, and then since then I've been with end customers and kind of really been able to kind of see the challenges from both sides. I started off not really being that technical, got a little bit more technical in my consultancy, and now, but again, there's a shift in terms of paradigm, in terms of like with the cloud and things, where some of those technical skills are not so needed anymore.
Very cool. Thanks, Dan. Okay, so brief history of Atlassian.
Yeah, so basically, we all know that Atlassian has been around for over 2 decades now. It's launched in, actually, if you go, there's a next slide, if you go on to that. Like, yeah, so it like launched in 2002 by 2 college students. Uh, they actually were looking at making some more money than what their jobs gave them, and they thought what would be a good way to do that. And that's when they came up with this product, and they made a bug test, bug tracking tool, and they named it Jira. The reason they called it Jira, basically, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people may be wondering, anybody here knows why Jira is called Jira? Yeah, so it's basically they're pretty fascinated with Godzilla, and then they went to the Japanese version of Godzilla is Gojira. So that's how they picked up the name Gojira for their product, and that's where it started. And basically, it started as a community and pro edition, right? So it was available for a lot of people. It isn't the Jira that we use today at all. The version till version 4, it had a lot of community edition. It had scope for a lot of custom development to be done in that. And after, I think in version 5 or something of Jira, they started having these dashboards, gadgets. What I'm trying to get at is they worked a lot on the product, basically, to be, there was a rapid growth in them. The community, that's what we are part of today. And that's what they gave to the community, and the community helped them grow and become a household name. So today, if I go to any organization and I say Jira, they know what Jira is. That exactly wasn't the case when they started off, and the community helped them get there. They build that product over a time. Today, we are at version 9, if you look at the server or on-prem instance, and that's where the cloud took off. I think after version 5, they stopped the community edition, and then they went full time on a subscription model, and they started working on that. By 7, they had that marketplace in place in which all the paid apps, and that's when they probably attained Greenhopper, and it became the Jira that we know today, that is Jira software. So before that, it was a pure bug tracking or issue tracking tool, and the agile development, everything came into it post their acquisition of Greenhopper. So Atlassian always believed that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. They did what they did best, and a lot of the product enhancements have happened because of acquisitions of various companies that they have then merged into them and made that product what it is today. And now we know that in 2015, they had an IPO. They're now a listed company. There's a reason why Atlassian went the way it went. One is their community, a very good product. And they actually, when they started off, right? I mean, my Amrit Software the company that I work with, started doing Atlassian in 2008. So these people started in 2002. By 2008, we were selling Atlassian. And one of the very strong philosophies that they had was no bullshit. So they do not bullshit their customers. And that is what their customer service was called something like fanatic customer service, which meant like we are crazy about our customer service and we give the best customer service. And I think all of those values brought Jira to where it is today. Atlassian, not just Jira. So Atlassian to where it is today. And I think that's what has paved the way for all of us to be part of this ecosystem and go ahead and build our careers with that. I don't think Mike and Scott ever thought that there'd be so many people building careers out of the tools that they created. So that's what is about. If anybody wants to know anything, I can go on and talk about how Atlassian started, but I'd like to let the others, give them some time to speak to.
Yeah, I mean, it's the journey's definitely been an interesting one in terms of companies. They've continued to grow with their acquisitions. I mean, you now look at some of the products they've had on the market with Status Page and things like that, all come through acquisitions. I think with such a diverse portfolio as well, even if you didn't originally come through the Jira route, you certainly became very aware of Atlassian's presence. And then, you would get introduced to one tool, and then you go, oh, what's the other ones? What's the other ones? And you keep going through like that. I know one of the things back from one of my early years in that Atlassian is that I was always taught as like it's very much an organic growth, that they're not looking to come in at the top levels and kind of say, let's do a big transformation. It is much more about trying to empower the users to kind of feel like they can do whatever they need to in the tool and let it work for them. And you see that with kind of the very organic growth a lot of businesses have in terms of their Atlassian ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dan, right? Like hitting on the acquisitions, I think has been really key for Atlassian. And you mentioned a couple of them like OpsGenie too, right? I think one of the things that has really helped them is how sort of generic their mission is, right? Like they didn't set out to say like, hey, we want to help R&D teams and tech teams and software teams, right? Like they want to unleash the power of every team. And having that really broad mission has really helped them sort of expand out into these other markets and these other products, right? Like for me at my company, our entire company uses Jira and uses Confluence. I help marketing teams, I help operations teams. Obviously R&D and IT are our heaviest users, but the way that they've just really have this broad scope of like, every team can use these tools and every team needs help and collaboration, communication, organization, all of those things. And I think that's one of the beauty of their products is that they really try not to pigeonhole themselves so that the tools can be used really for any team out there.
Yeah, and that's a really good shout, Erica. And I think that's one of the great things about the Atlassian ecosystem and the Atlassian tools, is that they're so flexible and so malleable, and so they can be. You don't have to be an expert in a single field. You can get in there, and there'll be opportunities to help customers with just about every tool, and in very different ways. I quite often say the most incredible thing about Jira is that it's so configurable, but also the most horrible thing about Jira is that it's so configurable. So, so it's
very fine
it's
line,
great.
isn't there?
Yeah. So it's great because it's well, to give it a very quick comparison with like Azure DevOps, right? It's a big competitor that's hit the market and it's doing quite well. Azure DevOps is great, but it is very focused. It includes in the name that it's very much more software focused, and so quite often you get companies saying, "Oh no, we tried Jira, it was too hard. It was just hate Jira, too hard. We're going with ADO because it's not Jira." And then they'll go with that, and the developers will love it because yeah, cool. I can do my test plans. I can get all the delivery pipelines. All this stuff's good. And then marketing says, yeah, but where's my board and how do I do my stuff? And so no, this is for DevOps. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, one of the last missions of Atlassian is impossible alone, possible together. And I think it goes past just being a team. You've got to look at entire companies and not creating information silos and stuff like that. And, having a tool that can be diverse allows for more and more teams to work better together, connect that information, and just, like I said, allow that work to flow properly.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the big reasons I wanted to talk about the history of Atlassian at all is again for visibility. I mean, I suspect a lot of people from the call are on the Atlassian community, but some people might not be, and they may find that they see Atlassian and think, oh, that's just Jira. It's just a bug tracking tool, isn't it? It's just and a little bit of Confluence. So what? Big whoop. But the company's been around for 21 years. It's grown from strength to strength. It was originally just a bug tracking tool, and the name from Gold Jira is another half of that. The reason they went with Gold Jira as well is their main competitor at the time was Bugzilla, which came from the Mozilla Foundation, which again took their name from Godzilla. So a little bit tip of the hat to say, yep, cool, we appreciate what you're doing, but now we're going to take all your business. So they're constantly growing, adding new products, acquiring new things. They are just about everywhere. And I've noticed recently with their Jira Service Management tool, getting a ton of work coming in for ITSM engagements. So yeah, so the idea is that Atlassian is a well-established company. They've got huge market share in just about every market they touch. So basically, if you're considering a career with Atlassian, either with a partner, as a contractor or as an employee, fairly safe for now. I mean, there are life cycles of these things. So one day it'll be a distant memory, but not in our lifetime. Rolls us on to different types of roles. So
yeah, I just kind of as I mentioned in sort of my intro, right? Like from my experience, I came from this very non-technical experience. My titles have never had the word Atlassian in them, and you have really just this this great opportunity to do Atlassian work without really necessarily needing the title. There definitely are, there's importance of having like the Atlassian admin and Jira admin and those things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need that title to do the work. And there's so much more than just Jira administration out there. For me, I have had, like I mentioned, Scrum Master is where I started, but then I ended up in a program manager role, project manager role. I was a product manager for a while. And in all those roles, I was very non-technical, but I still had this responsibility of really helping coach our companies at the two companies I've been at on how to use these tools. And it has been much more of like a SME advisory role. And at my current company, we have a guild format. So there's a variety of us who sort of do the admin roles without actually having the admin title. So I work really heavily with IT teams, our SRE teams, BRE teams. They all sort of help admin these tools while not necessarily having that as their only responsibility, which there's pros and cons to that. One of the things that's the pros is that we are living the jobs, right? And we are having to do the work. And so we kind of understand what are the problems that we're facing. And so we have a better way of knowing how to solve them. And as we mentioned, there's a whole suite of tools that need support, right? There's Jira, there's Confluence. And as you expand out beyond that, right? Jira Service Management and Ops Genie. If you have Bitbucket as well, right? Like that's primarily what our BRE team sort of manages and owns. Status page is much more of like our front office team, and our website team is really managing the status page tool. And so through all these sort of roles, you can kind of have this admin responsibility or even just consultancy responsibility, right? So from my background, I haven't worked for a partner or consultant, but those are great opportunities as well of, hey, I'm going to join one of these marketplace partners or solutions partner companies and be able to do these Atlassian roles. And I think the other team members, on this call can probably speak to that a little bit more from their background, since I haven't had those roles. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity. One of the other ways is that technical route where, hey, I worked my way up through the help desk, like Dan mentioned, right? I started in this spot of help desk and worked my way up. And I know a lot of my, sort of networking group that's really where they've started as well, is they've just kind of fallen in love and drank the Kool-Aid really deep with me. And that's where they've sort of fallen that pathway. And I know people who've gone on to accept roles at other companies that are Atlassian title. Thanks, Rodney, for stealing Jordan. So there's definitely opportunities out there no matter what your background is. It's just really, do you have the passion for it? So that's, I think, sort of the beauty of this world. And I don't know if others on the call really want to speak to the consultancy and marketplace sort of piece of things.
Yeah, so
very cool.
basically, when you were speaking about not having that technical background, so we are, I work for a solution provider, and most of our hires are engineers and technical guys. But because Jira is so widely used within our organization, we actually have, we had this. He's actually a poster boy. So we had this guy who was an admins guy who used to work with our admin department. He used to just see us using Jira. He started, he was curious about it. And with the SaaS offering being available, he learned it on his own. And today he actually manages our entire support function. So whatever managed services we give to our customers, he heads that for us. And that actually tells me that you really don't need to have a lot of technical background. You just need to have passion for what you want to do. That's exactly right, Erika. Once you love what you do and you just want to continue doing that better, I think tools like Jira or JSM, they're so well designed, that you really don't need somebody to walk you through the tools in depth to tell you what it is. You can just learn a bit on your own and then explore, and then as you go along, learn more about it with the other people. So yeah, we do have these, when after that, I have a couple of my HR guys who are saying, why don't we get into this consulting business? Why don't we try being partners with, work for your team? So yeah, we've seen that where we have more roles. And it's not just Jira admin, right? So he's actually managing a managed services, which is more of consulting, more of solutioning. And yeah, that's very valid. You really don't need to be technical or have any development background to do anything in Jira, other than if you want to develop a marketplace app.
Yeah, good point.
I think sometimes that can be better as well, right? A lot of the times when I've worked with some of the more technical team members, they're like, oh, well, let's just build this like Python script and that'll do the things. And I was like, yeah, but there's this built-in functionality that Atlassian already provides. Why don't we use that instead of having to maintain a Python script, right? So sometimes not having that knowledge, I think, is really beneficial.
Yep,
I think there's a very fine line about technical debt, and I think not being technical minded definitely probably aids in not producing technical debt for the sake of technical debt. I mean, if you can definitely do things native, if you can do things through UI and make it so that any user can do it, that's brilliant. I mean, that's why I personally prefer automation with Jira. I mean, if you were to compare like automation engines out of anything, low code, no code automation engines are so incredibly important nowadays, because you can share the load between so many more people. And I think it goes further than automation in terms of just like looking after tools themselves as well.
Okay, and that flows on nicely into our next section, which is barriers to entry. So this all sounds great, but I'm not X enough.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two parts to barriers of entry. The first is definitely technological minded, and I think what Erica was, mentioning before was obviously really, really key in terms of this as well. It's like some people just aren't technically minded, and that can, especially I think with the prejudicial opinions of like, oh, Jira is a bug tracking tool, it's designed for software development teams and things like that. There is almost that thought of I can't do that. And I think with the big change now for the cloud platform, we've seen that obviously grow from strength to strength. We've seen things like automation with Jira, and we've also seen, just in terms of like just in industry changes as well, of a shift away from I need to have code languages under my belt. I need to know these things in order to be able to look after certain tools. I think that massive shift is making it like is decreasing that barrier for an entry. And I understand obviously that the I can't do this and things like that, but I do think that barrier is definitely decreasing the longer we go on this journey. I think Jira, in terms of some of its competitors, is also fairly easy to pick up, I would say. Maybe that is just curiosity and passion for wanting to know how things work, but it's fairly easy. There's a lot of additional help and resources out there. The university, Atlassian University, is very good. Obviously, Community is a great resource. There's thousands of people on there. There's always great help if you ever need it as well, which is also good. Then you kind of also have like frameworks. I think people often again assume, because of what Jira's background was, and therefore what maybe some of the other Atlassian tools are, is they just shoehorn and say, oh, but I need to know what ITIL is for JSM, and I need to know what Agile is in order to be able to work in that with that product. We've seen the growth with business teams wanting to pick up these tools because they want to visualize their day-to-day tracking and their work management. Again, I think it's one of those almost myths that you need to know these things in order to work.
Absolutely. And being that various interests could also be, oh, but I'm in this part of the world, or the jobs are over that part of the world. One of the key reasons Atlassian is where they are is their key driver was to develop remote teams. So their applications can be used just about anywhere on the planet. And since the pandemic hit and everyone's got a little more comfortable in working from home, it's one of those things that if you see a job come up and it says it's based in Arizona, it's based in Christchurch, whatever, you can kind of be a bit cheeky and just say, look, I'm good enough to work on this end of the world. I can provide value from where I am, make it work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what to expect? And I'm sorry if I kept looking to the side. If you ever needed proof that the world isn't flat, if it was, Katz would have pushed everything off it by now. He's just destroying stuff. So loves it when I've got my headphones on. So what to expect from a Atlassian career? Well, I guess it depends on what kind of role you go for. Is it a Jira admin role where you're going to be solving problems for your own organization, coming up with better ways to work, increasing throughput of work, visibility of work. Basically, in a nutshell, you are a problem solver in a very, very basic sense. And I can only speak from my own experiences as a consultant, and it's a fantastic job because I get to swoop into customer sites, hear about their about where they're struggling with their processes. If they're looking at bringing on Jira, we basically look at how they do their work. You do like a process chart thing, and see, these people need to talk to these people. This needs to be approved by that person that has to go through that process and everything else. And currently goes here, and there's a bottleneck, and everything's hard. And so you can then translate that into a Jira workflow or into a way of working, and really delight your customers. Or on the other hand, you go speak to a customer who is using the Atlassian products, and you set up a Jira therapy session. So where I said, that the great thing about Jira is that it's so configurable. The terrible thing is that Dave did all this amazing automation stuff, and now he's left, and oh my god, nothing works. That sort of thing. Or, we've got 300 fields that do the same thing, and everything's overwhelming, and I'm scared my eyes are on fire. That sort of thing. So yeah, as a Atlassian consultant, you're a problem solver, and one of the great things I personally love about that, having lived through the fear of being pigeonholed with military stuff and thinking I'm going to be stuck here forever because I'm unhireable. I'm not just a Jira person. I'm not just a JSM person. I'm a ways of working person. So I talk to customers who are like, yeah, we're in Scrum, or we're in Kanban, or we're following ITIL for best practices. Or they're saying we're thinking about this, or we have to work in sprints. And you sort of sit down and say, well, why do you have to work in sprints? Oh, because all the really successful guys are going with Scrum. So, but is that relevant to what you guys do? And then you sort of work through. So yeah, I really, really love that part of it, that you're problem solving at the tooling level, but also the people and processes level. So anyone else want to chime in on? I mean, that's my view from being a consultant. It might be different day to day for Jira admin stuff, but I suspect it is just a lot of problem solving.
Yeah, I think that 100% sums it up, right? Like problem solver, right? And that is one of the biggest things that I've been coaching my guild at my company about, is like the first question you should ask is, what problem are you trying to solve, right? Like, someone was saying, I don't want anybody to be able to create stories in my project. And they're like, well, you can't restrict creation based off of an issue type. And I was like, well, no, I think they probably want to restrict creation in general, right, to just their team. And so it's really just sort of digging in and asking those questions, and really just using like questioning techniques to really dig down and be like, okay, I see what you're trying to do. That's not the right way to do it. Let's do it this way, and really sort of do a lot of that. So for me, yeah, digging into problems, a lot of coaching and training. There's a lot of really great resources on Atlassian University. If you haven't been out there, there's so many free resources now. Like it's awesome. But a lot of the times it's just like, hey, let me handhold you for 5 minutes to sort of walk you through how do you build a team calendar in Confluence, and giving some people just some really basics. And so that's, I think, a lot of where my world is, and my day-to-day is really just responding to Teams messages and walking people through things, trying to build documentation and training. And then the admin side of it, right? Like, yeah, I am going in there and building workflows and projects, but so much of it is really just teaching people how to use what's already out there, how to find what they need, making sure they understand how things interact. And now that we've migrated to the cloud, it's a lot of like, hey, there's this shiny new feature that you guys might not know about, but because I'm a huge nerd and I'm in all of the communities, I'm going to share it with you guys, right? When dark mode came out for Jira, like so many people were like, oh my God, yes, thank you. So I think that's a lot of where like my world is and what I'm doing sort of on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely one thing that I would just want to add on what you said, Erica, about like asking for that actual like why you wanting to do it. One thing that I was taught or tried to, like, when I was being mentored through like in my consultancy days, ask why 5 times and then you'll eventually find the answer. 5 whys have saved me so much headache, and I've definitely learned when I should have pressed harder at times. And I think that's all part of the learning curve, but asking that 5 whys, really trying to understand what they're doing. And then again, what Erica said about, realistically, a lot of the other job when you're not looking after a system is spending time with the individuals or whoever's asked. The more confident you get with the tools, the easiest it gets. But spending 15 minutes with someone, showing them exactly how to do it, means that they are now empowered to take care of this themselves forever. They may come back to you and say, oh, I've had an idea. Is this possible? And then again, you spend another 15 minutes with them, you talk them through the idea. But the more you empower them, the more they then feel like, again, they're in control. They know exactly how their system works. And you are effectively becoming like just a resource. You're becoming the library that people go to every now and then, check out the bits of information they need, and walk away again. And I think that's, for me personally, I think that's quite a unique experience, and I've certainly loved it ever since I've been able to do it.
Yeah, I've had actually had a recent example of that where I had a customer come to us they're going from Monday.com to Jira Work Management, and one of the complaints was we just get so many emails. We get so many emails coming in telling us to do stuff. My inbox has 7.8 thousand unread things, and I'm missing stuff because it's just buried in the sea of emails. So okay, that's cool. So the big thing was they want visibility of work, which it's a big key feature of Jira. And then when we were working through their workflows and saying when this goes from this status and transitions to that status, we can have a thing. And they're saying, oh yes, yep, we definitely want a notification there. Okay. The next one, and this one, all these groups need to be notified as well. Okay. And then if someone does that, we want an automation that'll then notify that person. I said, okay, so we've gone through this workflow and we've now generated 27 emails. And one of the key things you said at the start is that you want less emails. And like, oh, right, yeah, okay. So why do we want these emails? So yeah, it's because we don't want people to miss important stuff. So okay, so we're going with that with quite a reactive approach, saying this goes here, make sure it prods someone on the side to make sure that they do something. So I suggested to them, well, rather than creating a new spam machine, how about we think about setting up a dashboard for certain users. So when things go to a certain point, they get visualized there, so people can proactively look at what's on the horizon and then make decisions to better their work. And she was just like mind blown and said, that's exactly what we want. No more emails. And there's like a round of applause. No more emails. It's like fantastic. So so that's quite cool. And I think with it kind of ties back to the history of Atlassian and the barriers, I can't do this sort of thing, and the what to expect now. Like the things you learn by working with the Atlassian toolchain, you get so many different transferable skills. So if there was some weird universe where Thanos stands up, clicks his fingers, boom, no more Atlassian, you've you've suddenly got all these skills. You can talk to people about continuous improvement. You know enough about Scrum and Kanban and all these different technologies. You could move that across to a different tool set if you absolutely had to, or just without ever being a BA, but get into BA roles relatively easily. So yeah, even if you're not.
Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, Stu here, everyone. I'm a marketing guy, but I love career conversations, which is why I'm joined it, and I'm in one of the app partners, and I'm new to the whole Atlassian world, but I just wanted to sort of reinforce what Michael said. I started my career in the mailroom in a bank, right, posting checks out when people had checkbooks in New Zealand, and worked my way into the IT team, and then eventually, kind of landed on my feet in an IT management role, which I kind of look at as very similar to an Atlassian admin role. Like if I look at the Atlassian admins that we work with today, you're touching dev, you're touching tech support, you're touching end users, you're touching business strategy, you're kind of the center of the web. And it's such a great place to build up a non-technical business understanding of organizations, because you get involved in almost everything in some cases. And here I am, I call it a non-practicing nerd ending up in marketing, and then looping back to the software world. And to be honest, excuse the French, but I'm a pig in shit. I'm so happy because I get to work with nerds all the time, and have nerd conversations. Solve problems, work with problem solvers, like you say, Michael, which is a really intriguing thing for me. At the same time, I kind of have found a creative side, and so I kind of think that if we go back to the theme of the meetup is, what's in store for you. I think what the wonderful thing is, as you've said, you've got this broad, expansive global network, which is Atlassian. And a gazillion opportunities. And the final one that I'll reinforce, because we've gone through solution partners, we've gone through kind of all of these different career paths. Our co-founders are ex-Atlassian IT admins, and now they're, tech startup entrepreneurs in San Francisco who raised $1 million capital and got support from Atlassian to start the company. What a cool outcome from guys that were like, hey, Jira doesn't do this, and they're going to the cloud and it still won't do this. The backup's shit. Why don't we, literally napkin stuff, right? So I just, like I said, I love career conversations because it's kind of so empowering and inspirational, and to hear all of you guys here is wonderful. So yeah, I mean, that's me. That's my rant.
No, it's brilliant. But
that's fantastic.
Expanding on what you were saying, like how your co-founders went off and got the capital and spoke to Atlassian, and they're doing some great stuff over at Revise. I mean, we look at Chris Cook and Old Street Solutions, and now what's gone on with them. I actually worked with Chris 6 years ago, and we were part of the same team. He was in marketing doing his thing, and he got so fed up with how bad some of the reporting could be. He went, screw it, I'll do something. And he worked, and he's managed to, literally entrepreneurial, create a company, managed to do really, really well, and now is part of the Tempo group. And that's just kind of how this ecosystem grows. One thing I definitely noticed from Team 23 is you tend to see the same faces over and over again. They may move from place to place, but you will often see them come back or anything like that. And it's such a unique ecosystem because everyone is so incredibly friendly. There's a lot of news and advice and help no matter where you're coming from, and it's a lovely kind of ecosystem to be in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm new to the ecosystem, and I think from the uniqueness, I think a lot of it comes back from were you guys talking about the founder values. And I just feel the ecosystem has attracted people who share those values again and again, because it just shows in the interactions. The guys in our team were saying, what are we going to do in our messaging with marketing and bringing on new sales and stuff like that? And I was like, we're just going to give as much as we can give to the community, give as much knowledge and webinars and whatever else, and the rest will just happen. And that's been the case. It's just such an open community, without a lot of the bullshit.
Brilliant, great insights. Okay, so no, there we go. So that's great. We've established that Atlassian is a thing. Atlassian jobs are also a thing. Atlassian Community is also another thing. So there's people probably watching this thing. Yep, I'm in. I've drunk the Kool-Aid. Let me in. Give me some Atlassian work. So where do you start? So there's the traditional ways of you can jump on seek.co.nz or .com.au or Indeed or Monster or one of those generic job brand job sites, which could work and may well work. However, I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain of what Atlassian partners are all about, being that I work for one. I'm not all that sure if I'm allowed to share everything, but we'll just go ahead with it. So this is this is publicly available anyway. So, and it might be a bit hard to see, so I'll zoom that in. So, so Atlassian partners, there are different tiers. There's silver, gold, and platinum. And in order to get to these levels, they need to have a certain amount of sales. And I don't get into the commercials, so that side's dead boring to me. But the part that that they really do need is these parts here. So I'm in zone B, which is everyone who is not North America or the DAC region. So it's these parts here that we need to kind of look at. Well, in fact, more so just this one here. So to qualify for a silver partnership, an organization has to have one Atlassian certified individual. So an Atlassian certified individual is a person who has passed 2 Atlassian exams. And there's a great little hint for that. There's 2 exams. One's managing projects in Jira Cloud, and another is managing Jira projects in Data Center. So none of the exams are easy. I'll give you that. It's, the wording of them are brutal at times, but at least with those 2, 80% of the, and you're seeing a lot of nodding around the screens. There's some scars climbing back up. Yeah, so the exams are tough, but at least with those 2, they do act as separate certifications, but the content is 80-90% the same. Although in saying that, I recently tried the organizational admin certification, and I found that was personally the most straightforward, easy to study for, and easy to get. So anyway, back to the numbers. To get to gold, to silver status, you need 1 ACP. Gold is 4 people with 2 exams, and well, it's 2 exams, but it's also these parts here. But these parts here, the sales professional accreditation and technical sales accreditation, you only get access to those once you're in a partner organization and get access to what they call the Enablement Academy. It's like a university for partners. And to get to platinum, if you're in zone A, you need 12 people with those 2 certs. Zone B, it's 8 people and 4 people. So that means in order for partners to get to these higher tiers of partnership levels, which has a whole lot of other benefits. So it's qualified sales, it's marketing budget, it's all this other good stuff. To get that, they need to find X people with these certifications. So big piece of information would be to try and get some Atlassian certifications under your belt if you really want to get into a partner environment. As I say, this model is changing up in January of next year, but not alarmingly so. There'll still be and I'll talk to this a bit later, but different types of certifications. Not sure if someone shared it in the chat. I think so. Oh, nice work. Thanks, Erica. So yeah, so have a peek through there. There's different types of certifications. There's currently a sale on the, where are we? The 520. Not showing there. Organization admin. I must be missing something. Oh, here we are. The one without numbers. So the Atlassian Cloud Organization Admin, personally, I've found that one to be the most straightforward of the lot. I'm saying that because I've passed the 610, 620, and just as last night failed the Confluence badge by one question. Would you believe? Absolutely, yeah, absolutely rough. So yeah, anyway, so you get two exams. That gets you through as a ACP, and that gives the solution partners a tick in the box. Now, this is the part that might get me in trouble, but maybe not. So they are changing the way that the partnership works. In that, it's no longer going to be a huge draw to have 8 certified individuals or 12 certified individuals. What you will need to be a platinum partner is a set of people with technical delivery accreditation, which in a lot of cases is certification. And they also need to have a specialization under the belt. And there's three types of specializations currently, and that's expanding, but they're still rolling out the details. At the moment, you've got cloud, which is all about migration services, which you can train up once you're through the door at a Atlassian partner. ITSM specialization, which is so technical delivery for that is to have the ITIL is to either pass the JSM certification or to get ITIL for foundation and a extension. So I've recently passed the direct plan and improve module, which I thought was a really good course. So that gives us tick in the box to get through to ITSM. And the last one is Agile at Scale, which covers their Jira Align project, which is a product, which is a really glossy enterprise grade tool that aligns with the scaled agile framework. So personally, it's there's not a lot of organizations in New Zealand that kind of hit that scale, but we're dealing with customers in Australia and around the world that do use it. So yeah, so that's what you can do to get yourself ready. But so you know that, so it's kind of a cheat because now you know what the solution partners want and what they need to get the partnership targets. You know what their targets are. All you need to do now is visit the partner directory at Atlassian.com. Oh, sorry, .atlassian.com. You can search by country. So, for example, if I say I'm in New Zealand, and I'm going to search for everything. And this will show us all the partners for that region and their ranking. So ranking will go by number of certified individuals and specializations. There is an algorithm, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So you can see, I currently work for Datacom. We've got 13 people specialized and, certified, and we're well on the path of going for ITSM and cloud specialization. So I'm hoping in the next wee while we're going to jump across the top, but we'll see. So from here we can see if you're looking for a Atlassian related job, these organizations are marketing themselves as Atlassian specialists. They need people out in the street, knocking on doors, telling people this is what you need to do with your Jira, this is what you need to do with your Confluence. You know what their targets are. You know, they need to have certified individuals, they need to have specializations. So you can start tailoring yourself by picking up the skills or even starting on that road and writing it down in your CV and speaking to it in your interview, saying, "Hey, I'm currently working towards my ITIL 4 foundation. Hey, I'm really keen in the SAFe framework, so I'm going for my leading SAFe course." That sort of thing. So when you're talking to the recruiter, they're thinking, ding, specialization, ding, certified, certified professional, and that will really help. So then just go to each of these websites that you like. I mean, have a look at where they are. You might like living in Auckland. You might prefer Wellington, so on and so forth. And it's international, so you can go UK, USA, India, wherever you like. And I would say rather than sort of throwing your hat in to monster.com or indeed.co.uk or seek.co.nz, it may be a more tactful approach to find out who the right person is to speak at these to speak to at these organizations, reach them directly and say, hey, look, I can help you grow your company. And with that, thank you very much for your time. And we've still got some time for questions. Any questions from the floor? Sabrish?
Hi, Michael. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Shabrish. I'm from India. So thank you for sharing the insights. Currently, I'm new to Atlassian Community. So I work in a non-tech background. So are there any transition programs or certification programs that would be supported by the community or Atlassian, which helps us to upskill ourselves in the on building our careers in Atlassian?
Yes, yep, absolutely. And good call. On university.atlassian.com, they've actually got a large range of introductory courses for free. I think like Jira Essentials, possibly, all sorts there. So, and yeah, by going through those, not only do you get a better understanding of the tool chain, it's something you can demonstrate to a potential employer and say, hey, look, I'm driving my own career. I am setting up my own learning and development plan. I've done this stuff and I want more. And a big part of that is, and this is one of the coolest things I found when I signed up with a partner. When you sign up to a Atlassian partner, they actually have a free offering for their university. So all the courses you see on Atlassian University, partners can get in there and do them for free. So that's cool. And if you get some downtime, I'll rip into those, and it's really good. Or did that answer your question, Sabrish?
Yes, Michael. Thanks for sharing.
Cool, no problem. Thanks.
The other thing you can do is like spin up a Jira Cloud account for free, right? Like
Yes.
they offer a Jira Cloud or an Atlassian Cloud, any sort of product for free up to 10 users. Especially if you start taking these courses, right? It basically gives you a playground where you can start learning the skill set. You become, an admin of it, so you can kind of learn that skill. So that would be something I would highly recommend.
I think one of the best things to consider is obviously everyone learns slightly differently. So some will learn from watching, some will learn from listening, and some will definitely learn better from doing. Atlassian University can definitely cover the first year in terms of being able to watch someone, and there's obviously some good skills on there in terms of like being able to passively listen. But I personally am probably like Erica and the rest of us on here, which is I want to get going. I want to learn. I want to try these things out because again, curiosity is, I think, the more things you try, the more it will stick into your brain. So just go on to Atlassian.com, find the piece of product that you want to try, and just hit try it free. Get going because it's definitely going to help you.
Yeah, and actually I want to expand on that one. Yeah, the free site is fantastic. So you get 10 free users in Jira software, 3 free users in Jira service management, all sorts of things. And I think that's a really good way to leap into it and understand how the tool works. And you don't have to do it to track business processes or software development processes. You can be an entirely tragic Atlassian geek like myself and use Trello for your grocery list. I've got 2 boards that set up for things that are in the fridge and things that need to be in the fridge. So I'll walk through the supermarket and then drag that back once it's in the trolley. I've set up a Jira project to track renovations on my home, and that makes me cry when I look at all the money that's gone over the years. But it's great because it's like, oh, who is that builder that I worked with that redid the wall, or the carpet was great. How can I refer that to someone else? And all that details there. And you get to basically, if you need to track anything, have a go at it with Jira.
As an employer, I 100%, we're a high growth employer. We're bringing people in across the board. There's something that really distinguishes a candidate amongst a bunch of candidates who say, I'm interested in X and I'm qualified in X. The ones who come forward with, and by the way, I did X and here's a copy of it, or here's a link to it, or here's a PowerPoint demo or a video of me walking through the thing that I built in my spare time because I really invested it. That doing says very, very clearly to the prospective employer, I'm invested in this thing that you want invested people in.
Mm.
So many people are qualified. So many people are, I mean, over the years, hiring people over many years, there's almost like career qualifiers out there who have all of the academic capabilities because they love studying, but they will often lack the, you know, people say, you know, how do I get experience without getting the job? That whole kind of diving into a career challenge. I just want to really underpin what you've both said, which is, you know, just do it yourself, and it says so much to a prospective employer that you've gone ahead and, you know, invested the time to actually create something.
Yeah, I mean, one idea is if you do find someone looking for a Atlassian consultant or something, why not build your CV in Confluence and in a free Confluence site, and then use an external share add-on with a password so it's nice and secure, and send that out. I mean, that tells them, wow, okay, it's creative because it's not just another PDF on the pile of 3,000 applicants, and it shows that, okay, so you do actually dig the tools, and we can work with that. That's saying I've never hired anyone. I'm not a hiring manager or recruiter or anything. But I don't know, that would be interesting. Okay. Any more questions? Oh, cool. Oh, kind of backfired. Oh, how? Oh, I'd love to hear about that one. Can we pull out that thread for a bit?
Well, the blog became so popular that it's now one of the main things I do.
Ah. Brilliant. Oh, there you go. So build your own career. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like everyone's gone a bit quiet. I hope people got value from this presentation. Yeah, I'm sure all of us are on LinkedIn or wherever else, or in the Atlassian community. Oh, actually, that's another good point. So the Atlassian community itself is a great resource and a good way to get your head around things. And you can ask the dumbest question, and I've never seen anyone get set on fire for being a noob. You know, it's a very welcoming place. And if a question's been asked, it's probably been asked about 27 times on the community. So yeah, do check that out. And there's often there's often partners and organizations that are raising interests for applications on the Atlassian community, so you don't have to go through the traditional job sites or those sort of things. Yeah, just be creative. So with that, I think we'll bring it to a close. But it's been really nice talking to everyone, and thanks for the input from everyone, from Stu as well, for joining us at this god awful hour. I'm not the only one. And yeah, so if you do have any questions post this, please reach out on LinkedIn or find us in the community. I'll also be posting this up on YouTube for all the people that stayed in bed. Cool. All right, thanks everyone, and have a great day, night, or morning.
Thanks, Michael.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Think so.